We're going to go to this week's interview. Today we have on Melissa Mottweiler, and she's from Cass County, Michigan, and we're going to have her on our Google Hangouts today. Welcome to the show, Silent Voices, Melissa. So tell me, Melissa, how did CPS ever get involved into your life?
CPS came into my life when I went to go help a girlfriend of mine out, get her kids out of a bad situation. I had had a CPS case before, and when I went to go pick up my friend and her kids, they ran my name. So then they came back into my life again. At the time, our house was a work in progress. There was repairs being made on it. CPS cornered me. They didn't corner my husband at the time. They just cornered myself, saying, you can't be here, you're pregnant, you need to go find another place to stay, and that's how it started. Then we had services come in. Families first, of course. They were the first ones to come in. Went through that service, passed it. This was all in June timeframe of 2013. We were on the verge of eviction from our house. We had another place to go. The CPS caseworker said that she was getting ready to close our case until new allegations popped up. The new allegations were that I was molesting my kids, and my husband was an alcoholic, which both of those were unfounded. That my kids went through trauma assessment. They found none of the allegations to be true. Well, at the time that happened, a friend of mine and her husband were with me. He is a sex offender on the list from something that happened when he was a kid. And the next day we had a court order removing our kids. No warning whatsoever. That was in July of 2013. Started going to court every few months. They said, you need to go find your own house, go through counseling. We went through the psychological evaluation that they did. And ever since then, we were continuously going through services. Services were being paid for by the state. They were copy and pasting reports saying that we had no progress whatsoever. The house that we're in right now is being willed over to us when my adopted grandfather dies. There's plenty of room for me, my husband, and all my kids. That's not good enough because of past people that used to live here. We're both employed. There was no laws broken, and they are still, even after the second half of termination trial yesterday, are still trying to find every single thing to keep our kids away.
How old are your children?
My oldest is 10. His name is Caleb. Then there's Samantha. She's 8. Christopher is due to turn 6 next month. Jordan is 4. Matthew is 16 months.
So you have 5 children altogether. You had the court order for removal, and usually there's a 48-hour window where they have a hearing. Can you tell me about that a little bit? Were any relatives contacted on that to place the children with relatives or foster care?
The 3 oldest were placed with grandparents. My 2 younger ones were placed in separate foster homes. And as far as I know, there was no relative calls for my other 2.
Does that still stand today?
Yes.
Okay.
Why didn't they place the younger two with the grandparents? Was there a reason for that?
Grandparents said that they wouldn't be able to handle two more children in the home.
They couldn't find any other relatives to place them with?
No. I don't know if they tried either. We never heard anything.
What type of allegations did they use on you? When they remove children, they're supposed to have imminent danger. What allegations did they say you did?
The allegations that were unfounded were the child molestation and the fact that my husband's an alcoholic.
Those allegations later became unfounded and they didn't give the children back to you. Am I correct on that?
You're correct.
You went to court and you had a court-appointed attorney. What was the mood of the attorney? How did he react to your case?
I did, excuse me, I didn't actually meet my attorney until a little bit before the first court hearing in front of the actual judge. The first couple of times that court happened was after the kids were removed in front of the referee, then they adjourned it, and then after my baby was born, I had to go back to court so they could tell me in court again that they're removing my child over neglect. My attorney, I didn't meet my attorney later on until after we had the first actual court case in front of the judge.
So you didn't have this attorney for your 48-hour removal, but you did have him for court. Now, what was his mood when you told him, hey, you know, we didn't do this, these allegations are untrue? How did he defend you?
Yes, we told both of our attorneys, we told them what was going on. They said, but you still need to go through and find a new house. You need to get jobs, which my husband's been employed for over a year at the same job. Then they said, well, you need to move out and find another house, go through your services, go to your visitation, and you might have a chance.
So I imagine they wanted you to follow what the agency wanted you to do, sign some papers, follow their plan, plead no contest.
They said, well, what do you plead? And it was under our attorney's advice, in order to avoid a trial, was to plead guilty and go forward with services.
So you pled guilty or no contest, took the services. How did you come out with your services? Did you pass them, or did you have any proof that you was presented in court on that?
Basically, we were told to go through couples counseling and individual counseling. And we were doing that. The first counselor that we had the same counselor. She was focused so much on our relationship that she wasn't getting into the main issues that the court wanted, was neglect. Well, needless to say, there was conflict between us and the counselor. They ended up separating, my husband and I. I went to one, he went to the other, the same gal. And it's been a constant no progress, no progress, no progress, not enough progress made, no progress, no progress, not enough progress made.
So in this case, the services really didn't improve or have a real big bearing in your case.
They keep basing it on our past, our finances, anything and everything that they can dig up. There was so much stuff that was happening during the court when we weren't around that was being made up. My attorney tried to say something about it. She got shot down about it.
So basically that was hearsay that they had presented in court. Was there any witnesses that they brought up
No.
Yeah,
We
this
had
kind
witnesses set up too, Dennis.
Now, you had witnesses set up. Why weren't they called into court at your trial?
My attorney never called to talk to them. I tried reaching out to my attorney to have her call them after she said she was going to. She never reached out. I get an email from my attorney the day of the trial. She says, "Are your witnesses coming into court this afternoon with you? We can try to get them in, but we already told the judge you had no witnesses."
So, Melissa, if you had a attorney that had represented you in court, this is a case that you probably could have won if you had presented all the facts in court, if the facts were actually presented by an attorney and cross-examination took place.
Yes.
Did you ever check into getting yourself an attorney at the cost of one?
Yes, we did, and thousands of dollars, thousands and thousands of dollars. If we would have had, $10,000 to $20,000 attorney, we would have been fine.
And that's what we're finding out, that the cost of an attorney, or even finding an attorney to step up to the plate, presenting the facts, fighting CPS, that this is a major, major problem. And it looks like this had been one in your case too. Most families just cannot seem to come up with that kind of money.
No. And they brought up too that the way the house is set up, just because we would sleep in the bottom finished basement, and my kids would be on the second and third floor, that wasn't right for us to do that to my children, that they weren't allowed to have separate rooms on separate floors. And also, from what I understand, we were supposed to get our 30 days for the next court hearing. No, we got to be back on the 4th of next month in order to have for our decision. They're not giving us the whole 30 days.
So, Melissa, is there a law against those type of sleeping arrangements? Is that illegal in this state of Michigan?
According to CPS, yes, but no, there isn't. As long as the boys and girls aren't sleeping in the same room.
And that's something else that we're finding, is that they're making up excuses on sleeping arrangements, or maybe a bedroom is too small, or a bedroom doesn't have a window, but you had your own home, and both of you are working. This is definitely a case where CPS probably shouldn't have even been involved in your lives.
Nope. We also have a case of the foster care worker does not like to inform anybody of when a child's going to be there, when they're not going to be there.
Do you have weekly visits?
We get visits Tuesdays, Fridays, and Sundays.
So that's 3 times a week. And if they're going to terminate your rights, usually they cut you down to 1, and it kind of sounds to me like all of a sudden they're going to tell these kids this is your last chance to see these parents.
Yeah, that's exactly what it is. My oldest has depression problems, and in every report, he finds no negative things about coming home to mom and dad, and he wants to come home. The kids want to come home. They're going to break them babies' hearts. They're breaking the kids' hearts. They shouldn't be doing this to them.
The youngest one is 16 months, and the second youngest is 4 years. The 4-year-old will probably remember, but they like to keep those younger ones 16 months because they don't have any memory and look up parents on Facebook. They just don't have the memory there.
I know my 4-year-old is having a bad time. He's not being To me, he's not being very well taken care of, but CPS says that's a wonderful household for him to be in because his speech is improved. He's had MRSA. He's pretending in visits like he's the mom and one of us is the child and spankings are going on. None of my kids have ever had any spankings before. They're very respectful. They listen. And I know I've seen in reports too where they're trying to have the kids deal with separation instead of, working everything out with them. It's like they're cornering them. And with how a couple of the kids are, it's tearing them all up. I know it is. They want to come home, they miss us, and we'll fight every appeal that happens until they come back.
Now you have a decision coming up December 4th, and your trial is over. And how did that trial go? Can you tell me a little about that, Melissa?
The same words every time. The kids have no bond with their parents. Mother has an avoidant relational skills with the kids. She doesn't know how to engage or interact with them. Dad has relational skills, knows how to interact with them. It's not a matter of that mom and dad don't love their kids, is they can't take care of their kids. We took advantage. They're making us sound like, besides the fact that we have never been able to take care of our kids, that they never lived with us ever. My adopted grandfather, they're making us sound like we took advantage of him. And it's ridiculous. We've got proof of all of this that, we've taken care of the kids. We take care of our own stuff.
And there wasn't much cross-examination from your attorney in this trial?
Over the same thing, over reports every time, over old reports. How come you say this in your report, but it's saying, okay, my new counselor was saying that I had improved some, but the CPS worker would read it off as no improvement whatsoever. So that's the only thing my attorney would point out, besides she did try to get more time with one service that we weren't provided fully, and that was parenting education.
Is there anything else that you'd like to tell our viewing audience as we wrap up here, Melissa?
Don't let CPS bully you. Don't let them take your kids. And always have some sort of attorney or somebody with you, not paid by the state. If they try to decide to come into your home, you don't have to let them. I do believe that my attorney and my husband's attorney only showed up long enough to get their pay from the state, and that was it. I mean, I have nightmares about my 4-year-old because he comes to visit so withdrawn. He knows exactly what days he comes to see me. That's fishy and feeding to me.
Right.
That bothers me because then there's days where he's screaming, "Don't tell me that. Don't touch me. Don't do this." And they hear this and they don't do anything about it.
Well, we want to thank you, Melissa, for joining us today over Google Hangouts. It sounds to me a lot of misrepresentation in court, and I want to give the audience an update. After we filmed this, it was after December 4th of 2014, and Melissa's rights to the children, her husband and Melissa rights were terminated December 4th of 2014. They are now seeking an appeal on this case, and if we have any more information, we'll pass it along to the viewing audience as time goes on. So thank you once again, Melissa, and I'm sorry about what the state has put you through.